Jill, I think you're muted, or
I
we can
just
hear you.
noticed. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Derek. I just realized I've got somebody vacuuming in the other room. So I muted myself while I wasn't talking. So anyway, good morning. Thank you, Derek. Um, yeah, sorry about you're putting it in the comments, but I don't get an auditory notification that people are adding in the comments. So anyway, let's start over. As far as economic news, there was a little bit of news at 8:30. It did seem to have an impact on the market. It was positive. Whether it's positive enough to continue, this was a nice spike up here. This was a level. If it's part of your game plan, this might have been a good place to short because this was possible resistance. Right, we broke down below this level yesterday, resistance, and then a little bit of a double top over here. Not necessarily the way that I trade double tops, because it needs to come from the bottom, and at this point it had come from higher. What I did see was a double bottom on here, but even a better one on gold. I did not trade this morning. I got to the computer. This was at 2 a.m. I got to the computer around this time and noticed that this would have been a really nice entry for those of you in that time zone. I don't know if anybody captured a long on gold. And the target would have been this actually to close or get back to the possible highs over here. But I did have a level here. Don't know if it's a higher time frame level. Yeah. And we went right to it. And then some of you guys are shorting gold this morning. It's very bullish over here, but this was an obvious point of possible rejection, possible resistance. So there you go. That was a double bottom here that some might have taken. Right, bottom here, second bottom, that's on the 5-minute time frame. And then entry for me would have been on the, and actually that's pretty interesting to point out. Entry for me would have been on the break of a bullish candle. And the bullish candle is the one I'm pointing at here. Let me get rid of this and zoom in. So on this double bottom here, the real bullish candle is possibly this one. If it broke above this wick over here, that would be the entry long. And then look at what happened on the next candle, right? Very, very bullish. Conservative stop below the wick, aggressive stop below the entry candle wick. And then look at where price went. It went to very close to 3R. But then it pulled back and it got people out that entered over here. So people would have entered, possibly gotten out at break even, and then it just continued on. But then look at this candle. Look at how it came back and retested again, and then just took off from there. Right? Once it got the liquidity over here, then it took off and made new highs. This pullback over here is, it's a normal pullback if we are bullish, or it could be an actual sell-off. So good luck to those who are taking this short. We could be retracing back to a prior level of resistance over here. Right, so this was resistance, and then will it become support? Who knows? And then let's get rid of this. Oil is just chopping around, made new highs because of news overnight, conflict between Iran and the US again, and then pulling back. This is just a choppy mess for me. M2K, the short seems to be working out for, I believe it was Hamza that said he was in a short here. Yeah, nice pullback on that. And MNQ, my former self would have shorted this right at the break here when it came out, took liquidity over here, and could not show enough strength. Higher time frame since when was that? Yesterday afternoon at all-time highs. We've been pulling back, pull back, and then continuing lower. This was an area of resistance once we pull back, and it's still a possible area of resistance. So let's see what happens. I wouldn't mind it seeing coming back and rejecting again to give an entry, or I would put my fibs because we are selling, and we'd see if we're starting to buy over here. And then an entry would possibly be a short over here. But what I don't like about this is that if we do bounce here, this is a possible area of support. So if we bounce here, is it just a retracement to reload on the shorts, or is it actual buying? So that's something you have to look at price action to try to see what's happening there. Similar price action in MES, right? Not actually, we were at all-time highs yesterday, but it was during the pre-market, right? We just broke above previous highs. I don't know why my scroll is not working. Go to oh, it's 1 minute. That's why. There we go. So this was all-time highs during pre-market, and then right before the market opened, we pulled back. And then post-market yesterday, we were selling again. So for where it is right now, we are selling over here. So let's see what happens. Do we get a pullback for the continuation down? And if I were to short, I probably have a level around this area. I'm not including the wicks over here because these were all, we didn't have a close below this area over here, at least on the 5-minute. There was a bullish fair value gap with the news this morning, and it's still being respected right now. So that's an interesting level on MES. But gold, is it just a pullback for the bulls? Don't know yet. I could put a fib over here. The pullback is not 50% yet. I mean, some people might put a fib over here because this was where we broke out. And if you do put it there, we are in the golden zone right now, right? And the reason I'm starting it there is because that's where it broke out of this area of resistance, right? But if we were to put it at the bottom where the impulse buy started, then there's still room for the pullback. So I'm actually going to set an alert over here. And please don't hesitate. If you have questions or comments or talk amongst yourselves, that's 1000% okay. I've got other things that I'm working on over here, but I'll stick around to see if there are questions or comments, or if you guys want me to pull up a chart. Please don't hesitate. 2K, wow, that's a nice Hamza. I hope you're still in that. That's an awesome move. I'm setting an alert over here because this could be an area of support. I'd like to see what happens here. I would not necessarily just jump in and into a long because this is a lot of selling. So the sellers are absolutely in control right now. Just going to put this here for now. We've got some earnings after the close. Dell and Costco might be interesting to look at. Dell, I don't usually or haven't usually traded it. Very low volume. You can tell that it's not something that trades enormously. As far as a higher time frame, we are at it seems to be all-time highs, or actually I shouldn't say that too quickly. Yeah. So yeah, for all-time highs on Dell, that is a wicked daily candle from is that today? 321.93. 321.93. Yeah. So it actually went up to 327 post-market and then pre-market this morning. So with earnings today, after the close here, difficult to find positions in that. NVIDIA was ripping pre-market right, from 7 a.m. opening in a lower range, hitting resistance at R3. This could possibly be a short. Is there an entry on the 2-minute? It's already extended. Some of the strategies would be that once you see it wicking and putting in wicks over here, then you can short actually, let's see on the 1 minute. Yeah, on the 1 minute, it's still not giving really much of an entry. But, 3 wicks over here, entry short below the level with a stop, really tight stop below here. And aiming the R3 is usually R3 to S3 is where you're aiming. So if you get a good entry, this could be a very good possible trade, but I've got a higher time frame level there. So it might be one of those that you just, take a quick profit for 4R if you get a really good tight entry on this. Not the way that I trade. So I'm going to move my fib. So the impulse, the most recent impulse was to sell. So I started at the top here, bring it down to where it is finding support. And I'd be putting an alert right around here. That's where I'd start looking at it for the possibility of the continuation down. What's gold doing? Gold has not made it to my pullback level. Not yet. Out at London low for Haranath, I'll answer your question in 1 second. I just entering support area. I think you were talking about M2K, if I'm not mistaken. Let's look at London low. There you go. That's London low right there. Actually, it was just created, right? So, right, because we're still open. So not quite sure what you mean by London low. The previous low of London was right over here. I think that's what you meant. So yeah, nice short. That's fantastic. Get what you can out of it. And if you find possible support, then partial or get out. Nice. And then as far as my as far as drawing my, where is it? I include the wicks when drawing fibs. It depends. For now, like if I were drawing this, the impulse, the selling started from here, right? There's sellers jumped in and pushed price down. So that's where I would start it. And I do include the wick below because that's where price went. So right now, I would not need to move it because price is still moving down. So, and it's just a general, I mean, it's a tool. It's not the only thing I use. I want to see, is the 50 an actual level of possible resistance? And then you look left, right? And you look, where is 50 right now? Is it a level that could be resistance? Well, it could be. I mean, it was a level of support yesterday. Then we broke through it. Then right where the dotted line is, right? So that's part of what I look at. Right? I like this fib right now because there's room to the left. Always where I start my fib, there needs to be room to the left. Right? If I had started my fib, let's just, oops, I didn't mean to do that. I'll leave it there for now. Let's say I do a replay here and I go, I don't know, over here. I would not like to start an initial fib right here because there's no room to the left. However, for something like this, the fib, I would have started over here because that's where price started to move, right? We see that there's a double bottom over here, and then we started the impulse move on a 5-minute over here. We can see there's some fair value gaps and quite a big one over here that were formed. So I would start it down here, right? So price started moving just at the second low, and it doesn't have to be incredibly precise here. And then at this point, I would have had my fib over here, and I would have looked for an entry at this point. Didn't give it to me, right? So at this point, I'd have to continue drawing it over here. If it pulls back and goes to the 50, then I can start redrawing a new fib at where price pulled back and then started moving up again. So let me make this a little bit bigger. Right, so this was the pullback into close to the 50. Therefore, I can start a new fib there. Even though I said earlier that I wouldn't because there was no room to the left, but I'm justifying it because the move started down here. Right, and then I can go, and this I don't remember what happened. Did it? Yeah, look, it went right to the 50. So entry would have been here. Where was I? 3:45 in the morning. So I would not have seen this. Entry long at the 50. Right. Stop at the 61.8 or just below. Aim for 3. There's a 3 on the entry. It would have gotten your 3R pretty much in that candle. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question of where I draw fibs. And this is just random. This wasn't here, right? I'm just explaining it as I go, and look at how this one would have worked out perfectly. And you don't need to, I mean, had I been, looking for more, it would have been stopped out. Right? So let's say you didn't take the 3 here, and you didn't take the 5, almost 6R over here. It just came back down. And there's ways to get more than 3R out of a trade. I often get more than 3R when I'm actively managing my trades. If I am just if I'm making it mechanical and I'm walking away, it's set a -1 or +3. But if I'm actively managing and I see that, let's say my 3R is right over here and I got in at the bottom. Let's say my 3R is here. Well, I'm not getting out, right? There's a massive green candle over here, a tiny pullback, and then it's another massive green candle. So, there I'd be actively managing, but there's different ways of trading. And, when you make it mechanical, I find that what works well is +3. All right, so hopefully that answers that question. Please don't hesitate to go ahead with anything else you might have. A little bit of a pullback in gold. Like I said, I wanted to see if it comes back in here. It could be considered a double top at resistance, but it needs to come from below, which it did just recently, a few hours ago, but it was just there yesterday, right? It was just there last night. So as far as a double top, I like seeing double tops over here where there's lots of room to the left. Not saying it won't work. Not saying that it won't resist over here again. It's something to look at. Oil is just chopping around in the range. MNQ, these massive first half-hour candles, which justifies why I don't like taking them. Right? We look bearish, and then all of a sudden we put in a massive green candle. I'd have to move my fibs now to the bottom over here, and I'd have to move my alert to over here. So now I would pay attention again and see, okay, well, at the open, we spiked up. Sellers jumped in at a possible resistance level. It was resistance in pre-market. It was resistance at the open. We pulled down and made a low over here. This is where we are hopefully stair-stepping, slow stepping our way back to the 50, where these sellers might reload and add to their positions to push this down to possibly the this is calling yesterday low over here. Right, I like these levels, by the way. The key levels indicator, I think I'm going to give up on trying to make my own because those work really nicely. So yeah, if I were to get in here, I'd probably be looking at eyeballing over here. But if I get in here, if it does slowly stair step, I don't like this massive wick here because the sellers definitely look like they're in control. But if we slowly stair step back to the 50, I would get in short, possibly at the 50 or just below. My stop would be at the 61.8, and I'd be aiming for 3. Well, 3 is right here. Don't need to get down to yesterday's low. Do you look at cam pivots when trading fibs? Yeah, I do. I like, I've got them over here. I put them on. I just like eyeballing where the levels are. We are in a higher range right now. I don't know if they printed. Okay, S4 is over here. We're at S3 over here. We did not make it. R3 is way over here. The pivots are wide. So at this point, I don't know. I mean, would I go short right under S3 here? I don't know. But if my short is right over here, yeah, I try not to let it influence me too much. But S3 is a possible buying level. It was not respected at all this morning. It just, that's one thing that I do with these levels is that, you know, are they being respected? Well, in pre-market S3, we're staying behind it, or sorry, underneath it. And then it just came right through it. And now it seems to be staying underneath S3. So this is one of those discretionary things, right? Golden zone to short side is close to S3. Golden zone lies between R3 and R4, S3, S4. So like I said, it's a discretionary thing. I'll put them on and just eyeball it just to get an idea, and then I take them off. The main things that I like is key levels, and key levels, once I enter a position, I want to see where my possible support and resistance might be. And I've got higher time frame levels as well. So right now, this seems to be the right fib for me. I am going to eyeball. I'm not going to put a limit order on this one just because it has a very large wick. It's hard to tell. I don't trust it as much. I mean, I could possibly bring it over here because this was resistance over here, and then it was pre-market resistance, right? At that point, the 50 is over here. Like I said, it's not an exact science. It's something that you look at it, and if you feel comfortable and your stop loss is, again, it makes sense. Right now, 61.8 is right at this rejection wick here. So my stop, if I were to enter, you know, would be just above this wick. You know, and I'd be aiming for 3R, right around there. So this is pretty much where I want to start looking at it. It is coming close to 10 a.m. So I am going to have MNQ on my sites. I don't like that we've chopped around here a lot today. So this is by far not an ideal setup for me. Right? By that, I mean, in post-market yesterday, we went down here, then went all the way down and then chopped up, choppy mess over here, finding possible support above yesterday's low, you know, up and down. It's, I don't know. I don't trust it that much right now. It's not clean, that's for sure. You know, something like this, right? The double bottom over here, even though it's not an ideal, you know, pull back into it, but it's a nice double bottom. This price action here for the long is way better than what I'm seeing right now, right? This is an obvious level of support. support, green candle, you know, put your stop underneath the support over here, a possible support, and then aim for 3 or whatever, right? I think I put this in here. Had I been at the computer, I would have gone in right here with the stop below here. Actually, yeah, the likely stop would be over here, and then you know you try to get 3R. 3 would have been right there, around there, and then it actually made it to 5.5R. So just pointing this out because this image here I prefer to this. Right, this is just, there's a lot of choppy mess around here. So honestly, when I looked at the charts this morning, the double bottoms seem to have happened already. And then when I was looking over here, I found myself very unlikely to do anything today, or at least in the early part of the day. There's my alert on MNQ. Let's look at it. It's just ripping through there. But now, do we find resistance here? Is price going to be pushed down again? This is where I go into a 2-minute and look at it and see, like, are we strong right now? On a 2-minute, we put a fair value gap on the way up. Right? But then we wick down here, which is buying pressure. Right? These are buyers stepping in, sellers trying to push price down, but the buyers are keeping it up. And now it's in that golden zone. Right? And it's the golden zone that I've got if I start my fib over here. Right? I could put it right there. It's not much of a difference. Then you look at it, go on to the 2-minute or 1-minute and see, is there an entry? Well, it definitely looks like it's rejecting the area.
Gold might be putting a double top you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. When I look at a double top, I like it to be coming in from below and making a top. So not temporarily, but in the most recent past, it has, from midnight Eastern Standard, it has been coming up and rejecting over here. What I don't like about this double top is that this area over here, look to the left, we were just there in post-market yesterday, right? Just last night we were there. So there's not a lot of room to the left. I like my double tops to be like this. That's a good example right here. Oh, a bit of a too much of a zoom. There you go. All right, we came from the bottom and then over here, right, put in a top, put in a second top, you look left and right.
Nothing was there, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, my eyes over here go to the left, and it's like, oh, I don't know. We were just there. Don't get me wrong; it could work. Hard to tell. Yeah. If it came up here, you know what I'm going to do is put in another alert here for the possible rejection. What I'd prefer to see is another rejection candle that takes out liquidity above here, right? And if it wicks up and then sells, then it might be an entry. But again, I don't like that there is, as far as room to the left, there is some, but we were just there last night. So
I was checking out something also when it comes to, like, that was very clear today on gold. The thing, like, I think the move we had, the big buy move, that was a pullback, because we didn't pull back towards, like, we had a big sell. This
It's
sell off.
sorry, when you're saying big sell-off, are you talking about over here? I don't know if you can see my chart.
Yeah.
Okay,
This
big
was
sell-off.
starting from here to down
Yeah.
on the bigger time frames, and it didn't pull back to your golden levels. So if you measure it, it pulled back to
Over
the
here.
golden levels, and this is where most likely it did a double top. I don't know how to explain it very well, but things that don't pull back properly or provide the shallow pullback, most likely it's short-lived. Like, I would be worried about this double top more if it pulled to the 50%, retraced 50% or something, that would be more viable for me to not take it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that part I absolutely understand. And I would be looking at the same thing, because I do have the most recent impulse is buying, right? Yes, we were selling over here, but most recently we are buying. So this is where we're buying. This is where I'm stopping it. This is where I would think that the buyers might push it back and reload. Right. So had we touched this and made a second top, then would I trust it? No, probably not. Just like what you just said. But the fact that we did not pull back to the 50 could be one of two things. Either the buyers are really strong, right, and they don't want it to come down any lower here, or it just, we haven't gone back and gotten those buyers yet, right? Which we could if we make another top and reject. But again, if it did came up and made a second top, wicked up, gave me a kangaroo tail entry or something like that, I might go short, but I would be aiming for the 50. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would be aiming for this area, you know, hopefully. And I mean, for me, I would have to get 3R before getting here, preferably before getting over here, because this could be an area of support. Right. So if we, because it was just a few minutes ago. Right. So is it possible to get in on a short over here and get 3R over here? Well, you have to have very tight RVR. So hopefully that makes sense. Thank you, Tarek. And you get to a point where you look at these charts and there's so many things from memory and experience that are going through your head that it's sometimes, you know, difficult to justify. And that's, I try to vocalize my thought process. Right. And I think this was a good example, just looking left and seeing, oh, this is a double top over here. Came up and then you look to the left and we have not been there in days. Over here, that was a double.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's very hard to explain your thought process.
Yeah. I do my best, you know, and I try to.
You're good at it, Jill, but I had a hard time to express what I thought about.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, thank you. I've said it enough times that I do have. Definitely, I have a lot of experience in explaining and trying to simplify things. But there's some basics that you know I take for granted over here, right? Even the simple candlesticks. You know, what does the do you guys remember the first time you saw a candlestick chart? It's like, what the heck is that? What are all the colors and the right? So we take it for granted that we know that these are engulfing candles over here. They're strong. They're really bullish. Right? There's very little to no wick at the bottom. I mean, it closes green, and right as soon as it closes, we can get another green. So you can tell that the buyers are in charge over here until they hit a wall. Right? They hit something over here. And this is where I've got an alert. My alert's a little bit high. I should probably bring it down a little bit lower. There you go. This is where I want to be alerted. I don't want to necessarily go short or anything. I just want to know what comes first. Do we hit the top again? Or do we come down too close to the 50%? What's going on with M2K? M2K is finding support. I put an alert here, but it hasn't triggered yet. Right? And look at where I put the fib. I left it down here when price was still over here. Or actually, I think it was just over here right when we opened. But I put it down here. Well, I'm going to put it there because that's likely where it's going to stop.
Waiting to see if we can sweep that low.
I would
wick through there.
Slowly come down, wick down, and the buyers, you can see them popping in, would be great, you know, for a long. But over here, if we stair step and make our way back to the 50 over here, it could be a continuation short. But again, for me, I would like to get, if we stair step our way and get over here, and I get in short, I would like to get to 3R before getting down to the bottom. And I do. Right? This is stuff that I look at, and I just eyeball it now. You can tell just by, you know, this is one. Just to explain how we can eyeball it, right? This is your stop loss right here. That's one. Well, that same distance. 1, 2, 3. Right? So that's approximately 3R. So if this is minus 1R, this is, should be using this instead. I need to slow down my mouse. I can't even write on this. Oh yeah. Note to self. Actually, I'll go do it right now. There you go. So this is +1, +1, and +1. Again, I know it's elementary for those of you that know this stuff, but I also make these videos for people that are starting off. So there we go. Get rid of it. Rid of this, and let me slow down my mouse. Pointer speed. Oh, it's way too slow. It might have something to do with my Wacom, because my mouse pointer speed has slowed. Yeah, I'll have to figure this out after the session. Something has changed because it never used to be that fast. I write on this all the time. So anyway, so that's gold. We'll see what happens. I've got an alert over here and at the bottom. So that's the beauty of having a system like this, is that you're not looking at every tick, right? You're just taking your time, looking at levels. Look at the entry over here that I did not take, right? It went my direction, but then poof, took off and would have taken me out. So there you go. We've closed above the 61.8. Therefore, that's deleted. Actually, before I delete, was my fib from there to the bottom? Yeah. So there you go. Wow. Look at these massive moves. Okay, that looks like news to me. So M2K alert. Okay, what's going on? Let's look at my phone. Trump tweet something. And my watch is going crazy. ARM all-time high. All the alerts are going. Anybody up on what's going on in news? What do we got? See, that's the thing with this, is that there is a little bit of a delay. Come on, now I got nothing. Some is oil dropping, yeah. So something's going on with peace in the Middle East. Let's cross our fingers. Markets are just ripping. That is why it's so incredibly important to have a stop. Right? These will destroy accounts.
Yeah, US and Iran reach deal but need Trump's final approval, officials say.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. That's great for the markets. It's great. You know, actually, the first thing I should have said, it's great for that region. Inflation, for there's so many good things associated with that. So, but be careful here, right? We just took out liquidity at the top. This happened yesterday. Look at the top over here and look at how we just wicked above this top here. Let me just put it here. Alt H. Look at how we just went out. Anybody had stops, right over here, just wicked out, and then it took off from there. Now it just, let's move this to the new high. We just wicked above it, and now we're pulling back. So be careful, those bulls out there. It's not a breakout of this level unless it breaks out, closes, pulls back, and then continues. Right? That's on MES. Very similar. Actually, we're not at all-time highs on NQ, but we broke out of the high from yesterday, at least yesterday, right after the close, right at 6 p.m. Look at this, by the way. I don't know if anybody's looking at taking something here, but I wanted to share this. What time is it? 10:15. I was looking at this and then had to step away and didn't put the trade on. But this is what I was looking at yesterday at 6 p.m. Right, that was the open. Right over here, we started selling, and then right here we started buying. Let's go to 5 minutes because that's the time frame I was looking at. Let's go back over here. Entry at the 50, short, and right over here, entry short, and it ended up being a. Actually, did it give a second entry? No, but it was a big play. The 3R was met like very, very quickly. Can't catch them all. There you go. That's the beauty of after hours, that your stop can be very tight. 3R was met like on within a candle or two. All right. So now that that's happened, it changes things, right? Now we're bullish. So on the 5 minute, news came over here, and what's going on with financial juice? Did it? It doesn't want to reload it. U.S. and Iran reach deal, but needs Trump final approval. The fact, I don't know where this news is coming from. If it's coming from the U.S., my first thought is, if they have reached a deal, Trump will, like, it wouldn't be a deal if Trump didn't approve, right? I mean, his son-in-law is the one of them that's negotiating. So, I mean, they're in contact. So hopefully Trump approves it. So there's a little bit of hesitation there. So is that why we're pulling back here? But just to finish on this note, now that we are, the impulse move is long. So my fib would be like this. Right? There are a lot of people that want to buy that were missed because of these massive candles, I would be looking at this area for a reload to the top side. And this is where I would be putting an alert, right around this area here. Right? Do we stair step our way back down here and then wick into here and then take off again? Room to the left. But there was a lot of resistance over here. So, but why was this happening? Was it because of lack of news of progress in the Middle East? Don't know. All kinds of things that we ask ourselves. Any other questions or comments or things that you guys are looking at before I sign off in a few minutes? There you go. That whole thesis for a double top is gone. Hopefully those that were short took profit over here, and or if not, had a stop, a hard stop, because those moves are hard to predict. So over here we took out liquidity, right? Look at where it had wicked up and look at where we went. It's easier if I put a line. Right? This was prior high. So there's shorts up here that have stops right above this wick. Where did we come? Stop them out and rejected. So it's not necessarily a short entry, but it's if I were looking, let's get back to the double idea. If this were to form a double top over here and then sell off, I would be way more likely to take this one than what we were talking about here.
Hey, Gilles.
Yeah.
So it says here they reach agreement on a 60-day memorandum of understanding to extend the truce. The deal needs Trump's final approval. Iran MOU to extend ceasefire and launch nuclear talks. So basically, it's an agreement to kick the can down the bucket from what it sounds like.
It just loaded now. Thank you, Hamza. Yeah. It's an agreement to, continue talking.
We agree to agree.
Agree to agree.
So
yeah, it's good news, right? It's definitely better than the alternative, especially that overnight they were, exchanging missiles and drone fire. So, it's better than the alternative. But is it, phenomenal news that things are going to absolutely rip? You can imagine that there's a lot of people that are looking at that right now and they're discussing with their teams and they're looking at, okay, well, it's not that good of news, so maybe we're going to pull back. So now what do I do here?
I mean,
do you
I was
buy
looking at the M2K and I just, sorry, Jules.
there you go.
I would just, I don't know, maybe just like a volatility compression day.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see the. I'm very curious to see what happens here. I am going to zoom in. I want to see what happens over here
On the MNQ?
on MNQ. MNQ is at a really nice level.
Yeah.
For a possible reload, and this is not a trade signal, right? That's not what we do here. It's just my thinking right now. I want to see what happens over here.
Yeah. I think yesterday was a bit of an indecision day. Hardly any change in the closing price. Maybe more of the same.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, we're dipping into it right now. So this is on the 2-minute. These are very bearish 2-minute candles. And we've got a 2-minute fair value gap, which means that from this point right here, the sellers are in charge. And the candle closed and put in a massive fair value gap. But if it was a limit entry and your stop was at below the 61.8 and you're aiming for 3, there's 3. Let's see what would have happened. Take this down. MNQ. What's MNQ? MNQ is definitely, see, above this white line over here. I'd be very curious to know what it's going to do. Lily, LLY, up 5%. Yeah. It looks strong to me. It looks like it could be going up to the 3R over here. Did not take it. But if I had made it mechanical with a limit entry, which is what I have been doing when I'm not live, as long as it works, 40% of the time, 30% of the time, I think I've got a graphic for that. I think I've shared this before. Right? At 3R, at 30% of the time, you're still green. I think it's 25. At 25 is break even. Yeah, that makes sense. At 25% is break even. And from what I'm seeing right now, I know it's above 50. I am going to calculate after that question I got last week and I couldn't answer. I am working on calculating how often it does work. But there's a lot of, the way that I'm doing right now, there's a lot of discretion in it. Right? So to make it mechanical is a little bit more complicated. So anyway, there you go. At this point, right, what's the likelihood of it hitting the 3R? I think it's pretty likely. Let's go to the 5-minute. I mean, if I was a bit nervous, you could always put your take profit right at the wick of the previous candle here, for 2.8. But I'm going to leave it at 3 just for example purposes, and I'll share tomorrow what happened with this. And like I said, full disclosure, I did not take it. And when I say it's very likely to hit, it's just it just looks like it's strong, pulling back and going up. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. Don't know what's going to happen. Let's take these drawings off here. Take that off. This looks like a pullback as well. Right. So the latest move is an impulse move on news higher. There you go. Look at where it came. Look at where it pulled back to. Don't know where it's going, but as of right now, looks like it's pulling into the 50. And you know what? I've been concentrating a lot of what I share lately on this strategy, but there are others. You guys are trading other stuff, and please don't hesitate if there's stuff that you guys are looking at and you want me to comment on, or if you just want to share and you don't want my comments, that's fine. Just share it. You know, there's a lot more. I mean, the break and retest, and that's what this is, right? It's like this, we're breaking out right now, and then we're coming in and retesting for the further move up. Anyway, with that, it's 10:30. My alarm's going off in about 30 seconds, so I'm going to sign off before it goes off, and the room remains open. Here we go, and pullback happens right at our on MNQ R3. Yeah, so MNQ. Let's put the levels on over here. It's taking a bit to print. CP, we might have different levels because my R3 is way up here. Right. So right around here, it just goes to show that the mechanical entry at the 50 would have worked. Would have worked for, anyway, I'm pretty close to 3 right now. There you go. There's 3R taken right there. So there you go. With that, I'm going to cut out. All right. So I'll be back tomorrow. And like I said, the room remains open. All right. Cheers. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.